I wanted to address a question that I got from a viewer, and you know, they were really kind. They told me that that they found my channel very authentic, and you know, that maybe more than others that they had seen recently, and they wanted to know, you know, who my spiritual teacher is. So before I get into that, you know, I wanted to say that if you like what you hear today, then you can subscribe to this channel, and you know, don't forget to share this video if you found the information here that I share here useful. So someone actually asked me, you know, what spiritual teacher I follow, if I'd reveal to them, and so that's what's inspiring this video. And I've made a few other videos, you know, related to this topic, where I was sharing resources, you know, that helped me along my journey to come into my higher self, and that can help you potentially as well. You know, my recommendations essentially for books that can help you with that. And then I made another video, you know, as well related to books. You can check all of them out as well on my channel. I'm not sure which of the three I'll upload first, so just there's 3 of them on this topic, and this is one of them, so just watch out for that. You can subscribe to this channel if you'd like to receive, you know, such updates. So talking about, you know, my teachers, what I want to say is that if some of you have been following me for a while now, you might know already that, you know, because I've briefly spoken about this in other videos, is that I don't follow any teachers. You know, it has to do with my belief that we are in this new age of Aquarius, and this new age of Aquarius, you know, we're experiencing a shift in consciousness. The vibration of the earth is changing, has changed, and then now the humans are also sort of forced, you know, to align with that, or you know, otherwise they will perish. So it's a different time than the times that we have seen in the past decades, in the past you know, hundreds of centuries. So enlightenment too happens in a different way, which means that we are not really, you know, this age is not about having specific spiritual teachers and becoming like a devotee of that teacher as such. You know, that is kind of dying away. Now it's different, because you know, in the past that perhaps worked because there were fewer people hitting a certain level in their enlightenment, and that was, you know, how it was meant to be, because we were living in the dark ages. But now we're moving away from, you know, what's called Kali Yuga into this new age. We're moving towards the light. It has to do with our place within the you know, the solar system, and relative to the galactic center, because you know, there's these different cycles that, you know, maybe even science doesn't know about yet. Even our earth, you know, our galaxy, everything revolves around something greater, just like our planet revolves around the sun. You know, that's the center. Then there's like a sun behind the sun with its system, and a sun behind that sun. So that's how it is. That's the geometry of the cosmos. So within that geometry, we have moved into a certain place where we're moving away from the darkest corner, more back now towards the light. So that means that the vibration is rising, because like it's like closer to a higher vibration. So the particles are more excited, and you know, there's more basically a higher vibration. But of course it leads to more chaos as well when things accelerate. So that's what we're seeing on the planet right now as well, you know, with everything that's happening, and humans, you know, because they didn't recognize it on their own in the past decade, when, you know, many of us were having these awakenings, you know, just through smaller little shakeups that we had in our personal lives. And now, you know, people who, because so many people mass generate a certain energy, and when they don't recognize it, you know, when they are still sort of asleep, then it leads to something a bit more drastic like this suddenly, you know, that's happening now. So the way to survive that, and not just survive but thrive, I've made a video on this too, how you can thrive in this new Aquarian age. You don't have to worry about your survival, you know, if you are living a certain way. It's really your own health and prosperity is in your own hands. That's the good part of this, you know, even as people around you and the masses around you would be experiencing, perhaps choosing a different reality. But in any case, in this video, what I was trying to say was that this new age is about just giving pointers to each other, because the sign of Aquarius, if you don't know, it's ruled by the planet Uranus, and what it is like it rules lightning, these lightning strikes. So when do we have lightning strike moments? Like, suddenly we have a realization and the heart expands, and it's like, kind of like these eureka moments, that people speak about, that scientists also have when they're just relaxing, like they've done the hard work, they've done the logic, putting things in order, thinking of things rationally, then they're looking for the solution, and when they relax, it suddenly comes to them because they've put in that logical work, and then the feminine side comes in a state of relaxation, because the feminine flows when there is relaxation. And then there's this sense of just this all-knowingness, this clear cognizance basically that happens, when the feminine and the masculine unite suddenly, and that's like a packet of light, and we suddenly through our more feminine sense we know, and the feminine and masculine unite at that point. And we have that sense of truth, that knowingness. That's just something that we know that is larger than us, larger than our body, larger than life, and it ignites us from within. So that is how we get our wisdom in this new age. It's not really through spiritual teachers. You can watch videos like you're watching this one, you can read books, and all of that is great. I recommend you to do that. But it's not about how many teachers or how much you follow or read. It's about the way in which you're doing it. That is very important, because the truth detector lies in all of you. It lies in our heart, and that is what needs to be active the most. You can take in just one piece of wisdom from somebody else that they're sharing, but if you're if you have an open heart, first of all, you need to be open to receive guidance and truth from the universe, from allowing it to come to you in any form, and not having this narrow-mindedness that I'll only believe it if it comes in this form, or only if there's a scientific journal that writes about it, or whatever it might be. So first is the fully open-heartedness, but the next stage is also discernment. When it comes, does it feel right? Does it feel like truth? Does it vibrate as truth? And how do we know that? Is because it will make us feel larger than our body, because truth aligns with the higher vibration, that we are multidimensional beings, and we exist in our higher self as our higher self in a higher dimension. And so truth, when it resonates, it will resonate in our heart as that higher frequency. So then once truth comes to you, you apply it to your life. If something feels right and you apply it to your life, you see how it works for you, you see how it's flowing in the now, then it becomes your own experiential wisdom. So what I practice is experiential spirituality. We allow the experience, the death and rebirth process in the body. So it's not just about reading a ton of books and knowing some spiritual principles, but it's then applying those principles, and allowing the body to shed and let go of what we already knew, in order for more to come in. So I'll give you an example. A very basic, simple example is that recently, for example, for the past 1 year, I used to live in other countries abroad. I was going through a phase where I was only in different countries. For a whole decade, I was outside of India. And I was sort of away from, like my brother, for example, and some of the friends that I had in college that I was closest to, that I've known for a really long time. And each time I was moving to different countries every 3 years, changing my country and even continent of residence. And so what happens is you lose you have to sort of make friends, new friends. Your life starts all over again, whether it's your job, your friends, everything, your sense of belonging, all of that. So I was used to sort of being on my own, and that was great. It was a great time for me. But then I became very solid in knowing, what is truth, and kind of channeling it on my own. Then I came back here last year, and I reconnected with my friends at a deeper level again, of course, because I was physically in the same city, and my brother and everything, and things became again a little bit more physical for me. All of these years I'd spent thinking and about these higher spiritual principles, working with the light, and experiencing that, which has been beautiful. But the next stage of our enlightenment, after you fully receive all that you have to through your I am presence, your higher self, then you implement it in the physical. And the second phase then becomes about not just now letting go of all the material so as to release attachments, but when you know who you are, you can again start accumulating. But this time you will accumulate consciously, and you will know what it is you want. You will know what is right for you. It will be aligned with sustainability, because your higher self is aligned with sustainability. So any guidance you get, any motivation, inspiration you get, it'll be coming from a source that is aligned with so many dimensions, not just this one person. So it automatically becomes for the highest good of all and your own highest good. These people in my life, they brought me the most profound wisdom, which I wouldn't have thought of before, because I was, the past few years, let's say, actively avoiding meeting people who weren't into spirituality and their own personal beliefs. And, politics, for example, there's this control mechanism that happens within politics, where politicians just show you, oh, I'm doing something, and they create this drama, and then the human being is just hooked on, oh, something's happening, but nothing really is happening. And there's this control dynamic that exists in all aspects of society at the socio-economic level. But for those of us who, got in touch with our own inner self, we know that, what's really happening, that at the level of truth, things are how they are, is more solid. And this drama, when it happens, it's feeding duality and keeping everybody within duality. So anyway, but so I would stay away from politics. But last year, for example, there was this beautiful social revolution that was going on in India with these protests, at the beginning of this year. Actually, I don't know why I keep saying last year. It's only been a few months, and the only reason that it shut down is because of the lockdown and everything that's happening. But the government wanted to bring in these changes that didn't seem right or fair to the people. The majority of the masses think that it's I don't want to say the majority of the masses, I don't know how many, but many people, more than we had imagined, think that it's not within equality. It's neglecting certain religions, especially certain castes, and really just people who don't have money or are at the margins of society, and they've been kept that way. That's how society is formed, that certain people, when they are kept poor and they're kept at a certain level, that's when the rich can flourish and gather all the wealth. And it's a very divisive way, and any changes that happen within society, the poor suffer the most. But anyway, so these people in my life, because they were reading the news and they were updating me, even though I stay away from the news, because again, it's like that rush that it's another agenda, to feed us with negativity and keep our vibration low, keep it from rising, keep us from ascension, inner empowerment. But because times are changing, I realized that times are changing, and when these people were coming to me, my friends and my brother, they also want revolution, and they might have slightly different opinions, or they might not be coming from a so-called spiritual side, but they were bringing me this wisdom. When I saw them going into the masses, for these protests, and I felt like it was larger than just politics now, because there was truth there. I saw the common people taking part in a revolution, equality, which is what spirituality is about. And so in truth it was there, truth was actually coming into the masses. I saw that, and they made me see that, through their even though they were discussing politics, even though and so when they invited me, I went, to for these protests and stuff. But that's just a very small example, that wisdom, the reason I gave you this example is that wisdom can be found anywhere. You have to be open to all sources, and you have to be humble, and whatever you knew yourself to be, it gets reinvented, and that is experiential spirituality. For example, when I was speaking about these protests on my Facebook page and otherwise, some people who follow me or who are used to the old way of spirituality were commenting that we should just stay at home and meditate, and that's the best way to change the energy. And I agree, it is the higher way, that you work with energy, because that is actually the higher level. But it's not the only thing. You are not an energy being, are you? You are a human being. You are here in a physical form, so you have to sort of contribute at all levels, and you decide when it's appropriate. Of course, I'm not saying take part in everything, but here, because I was not just going with the masculine side, that this is the spiritual principle, this is the way things have been, we spiritual people are not supposed to take part in like protests and movements, and this is for the common masses, and what do I have to do with this? I'm just a spiritual person, I don't want to be involved in these things. It wasn't about that. The person who is spiritual sees where truth is. You are aligned with truth. So I saw that there's truth happening, coming into the masses for the first time, almost, it felt like, at such a large level. And I wanted to be part of that, because that's what I serve. I serve truth. So what that looks like in the physical form will change, you see. But what remains is your devotion to truth. That is what an Ascension devotee does. They serve truth. So the way that you serve truth will change, how it looks in the physical, whether you are sitting at home and meditating, sitting in a cave and meditating away from all of society, whether you are a part of the masses, in crowded places, and taking part, doing things that are about protest, which have a certain level of anger almost, but it's this it's more this indigo energy of releasing of the old, of being like a guardian, that it's like that moment in Lord of the Rings where Gandalf says you shall not pass. He's protecting everybody, that he's safeguarding against the demon that is in front of him. It's he's like an enlightened being. It doesn't mean that it's a lower form of him acting out. It's like a protection energy, you can say, so when you serve truth, that is what you will serve. You will not relate to what it looks like, what it has always looked like. You will not just take on that. You will understand that this is a new age. The needs of the hour are different, and they will keep changing in this age as well, because things are shifting so fast. So don't hold on to the surface look of how something is. And that is, in the context of this video and spiritual teachers, that's what I want to tell you as well. Spiritual teachers, how they looked in the past, perhaps they had many followers, or they had this yogic wisdom and all. Be very careful of any people who have hordes and hordes of followers, who you follow on YouTube, or are known as these spiritual gurus, and they may well even have an open intuition. They might have this yogic wisdom that's there, but these are practices that have been passed on. Maybe they even remember their past lives and all of that, they're big gurus. But be careful, because this age, it's not all is as it seems, and you can be there's different levels, first of all, to our spiritual awakening. So it's like we are a third dimension body, and above that dimension is the fourth dimension, and the fourth dimension has a lower fourth dimension where there are the energetic forms of what we are going through on an everyday basis. So those are negative thoughts and positive thoughts, whatever we are manifesting. So the energetics of that. So right above the third is those more negative ones, the control frequencies, the negative thoughts, the criticism, all of that. So just because somebody's open to intuition and they can see what's going to happen in the future, or they know about the past, what they remember their past life, they have some knowledge of spirituality, the principles and all that, doesn't necessarily mean that they are living from the frequency of truth. Truth is different. Like I said, truth knows that it's not about my ego and how people know me. I'm fluid, I will change with the time, because I'm here to serve truth, you see. So this is, I know even as I'm saying this that people will not, until you don't hit a certain level in your ascension, you don't realize what is coming from truth and what is not. And that's a test that everybody has to go through, not test but initiations, and they're really beautiful. We all have to kind of just do it alone. You can listen to my words or somebody else's words about what you think truth is, but you have to apply it to your life and see. It's like a trial and error sort of a process, but it's really beautiful. It's like a undoing of yourself, and that is then how you come to live it. And then you become so self-reliant, you know what truth is at all times. And it will just guide the way. That's the higher self wisdom. So the real teacher within us is the higher self, is the I am presence, our God self, our God spark. And how that comes into our body, how we integrate it into the body is through experiential spirituality, is through serving truth, but being flexible and open, and being humble in all these, through all of these examples, like the way I've described. So let go of, and so in other words, my teacher is everything. These days, especially, like a lot of just the wisdom and teachings that I get are from people who are not even balanced themselves, but just the beauty of creation, how it's all unfolding. Something might not be in balance, but everything is made of love. Everything is made of love. The worst possible thing that you can think of, the worst possible person, and all they are is trying to remember themselves as love, and they are love. So when you see things like that, it's all a beautiful process where it's like this flower and it's just opening up. So how can a flower be ugly? That's the point, that everything is beautiful, and it's the whole journey is just it opening up and realizing, being fully open to the light and just basking in the light, knowing its own beauty. I hope that it wasn't too philosophical. I hope that you were able to get a grounded sense of what I mean when I say that that's why I don't follow any teachers. So I don't identify anybody as my teacher, but all of life shows me, and those moments. For example, the other day I was filming a video on the rooftop. We have a terrace, and it's kind of hard with the lockdown and everything, because I have all of these family members. It's close quarters, and filming videos, then somebody walks in suddenly to the room, or shared common spaces like the roof, and one of my family members walked in for a second time. I had to stop my video, filming my video, and then I got annoyed. I felt this anger, and in those moments, those are the moments that are my teachers. Sometimes it will be people who sort of annoy you the most, or you think are the most unenlightened, unaware, or whatever. They will become your biggest teachers in a sense, because they will bring up those parts of you that still feel threatened somehow, and still don't feel like they are grace, and they will remind you that they are grace. You are grace fully. So that is how we really anchor the I am presence as well, through realizing within humility, that I felt anger, and that's fine. I'm human. I'm allowed to feel all emotions. In fact, anger shows me, all emotions show me what my boundary is and that it's being violated.